Hey guys, I know it's been a minute since we've done something like this, but today I'm back with another devotional. And today I want to talk about eyes, okay? It's very important what we see. Like, we get so much information through our eyes. And it's very important. Job talks about that I've made a covenant with my eyes. And it's very important to know what we look at and what we see. And I want to start in Genesis 3. And here, the scenario, this is the fall. And the serpent is enticing Eve to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And then starting from verse 4. But the serpent said to the woman, "You will not surely die, of course, if you eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil." And verse 5, "For God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was delight to the eyes, and the tree was to be desired to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate, and she also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate. Verse 7, "Then the eyes of both were opened, and they knew that they were naked." What happened here? That their eyes were opened, and they were morally autonomous from God. Before that, they got their point of reference from God, but suddenly they had their own point of reference. And what's a huge lie in here that Satan said, the serpent said, is that if you eat from it, you'll be like God. But that's such a lie, because they were already made in the image of God. And we're also made in the image of God. And that's something that can be such a lie in our lives even today. Oh, you'll be like God. No. We are already made in the image of God. And that was a huge lie to them. And to this day, we love our freedom. That's something that we fight for so much. For our freedom. We want our freedom. And that's what they wanted too. Adam and Eve. They're like, yes, we become morally free, morally autonomous from God. And we'll be separate. And they did. But they saw that they were naked. And to this day, that goes on so much. And when Paul writes to the Romans, in Romans 10, verse 3, "For being ignorant of the righteousness of God and seeking to establish their own, they did not submit to God's righteousness." Isn't that so much us? If the Pharisees throughout, that's why Jesus talked so much and was maybe arguing a lot with the Pharisees, because they were seeking to establish their own righteousness and not submit to God's. Submission is such a word that we fear. We don't want to submit to anything at all. And this is what we do. We want to establish our own righteousness and not submit to God's righteousness. And that's why Pharisees, in the whole Gospels, we see that they hated grace. They hated when Jesus gave grace to someone. Why is that? Because self-righteousness, it hates grace. It hates it because it cannot submit to God's righteousness. We want our own righteousness. We don't want to submit to God's righteousness. And then in Ephesians 1, Paul writes, before that, from verse 18, and before that he says I'm praying, and then verse 18, that having the eyes of your hearts enlightened, that you may know what is the hope to which he has called you, what are the riches of his glorious inheritance in the saints, and what is the immeasurable greatness of his power towards us who believe, according to the working of his great might that he worked in Christ, when he raised him from the dead and seated him at his right hand in heavenly places. So Paul is praying, I pray that your eyes would be opened to what is the power, what is the hope, what is the riches of glorious inheritance. What are the things that you get when you actually submit to God? Yes, our eyes were once already opened when we're morally autonomous. But Paul said, I pray that you would see what is the real power when you submit to God and you don't seek to establish your own righteousness, but that you would see and you would receive resurrection power and receive a great hope that we read about in so many times in the Bible. And you receive the riches of a glorious inheritance that we have in us because of Jesus Christ. So I just want to tell you, what do we see? Do we see, do we see with our own eyes, our autonomous eyes, that we're separate, we're free? Or are we trying to see with the eyes of Jesus Christ, how we can help others? And when we see with that eyes, God gives us so much power. so much power. And I just want to welcome you guys to maybe today to like just submit yourself to God, and you will start seeing things with His eyes and not maybe with your own. So God bless you guys, and I hope to see you all very soon.